This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points is sponsored by Community Coffee, strong as our roots, by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your Houston area Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas, and by Emoji, the official business bank of the Houston Texans.
Who's happy about Texans football? Everyone is. Well, maybe not everyone. Cincinnati, they're not loving it. Tampa Bay's probably not loving it, but we are. My name's Drew Dougherty. This is Texans Extra Points. We got a fun one today because Brandon Scott of Sports Radio 610, HoustonTexans.com occasionally, Cody Stoots. You've been everywhere, man. You got your own thing going, so we're going to get into a whole lot. Y'all ready to go?
Ready? Let's do it.
Man, so ready.
We're about to spout off three little letters in just a sec, but that's got to wait. That's got to wait because we've got quick hits to cover. And today on the show, we're going to go one-on-one with someone very, very special, Blake Cashman of the defense. And we've got to do a telestrator on a big, big play at the end of last week's game in Cincinnati. As always, we're going to do Texans to watch, and then we'll wrap things up with keys to a victory. But I tease those three little letters, and they go like this, MVP. Is it too soon to be talking about C.J. Stroud for the Most Valuable Player Award? I'm going to start with you, Cody.
Not too soon at all.
No.
Why wouldn't you be talking about C.J. Stroud for the MVP award? You look at where he is in all these different passing numbers. He's in the top in basically every passing stat you'd want a guy to be in the top in. He's in the top 10. Heck, he's number 2 in total yards, and he's number 1 in yards per game. Absolutely. And you look at the NFL and the parity. So many teams are up and down each week. And I know a few weeks ago, CJ didn't look too great against Carolina, but 2 impressive performances in a row. You keep that going, there's absolutely a path to having this guy in the conversation.
And we're just barely past the midway point.
Yeah, and CJ's play in and of itself justifies him being in the conversation. Whether he stays in the conversation is going to be up to the Texans.
Sure.
And how much they can continue to win games. Like, these things go hand in hand. He's leading all of these passing statistics, and he's doing all of these really good individual performances, but the Texans are winning these games. It's not a coincidence, Drew, that in back-to-back weeks, the Texans win at the last second, virtually the last second, and C.J. Stroud is tremendous at the end, and now all of a sudden people are realizing that C.J. Stroud's been good all year.
Thanksgiving is this Thursday, and the Texans are a game above 500 thoroughly in the playoff hunt. You brought up parity a moment ago. These are exciting times based on what we've seen around here. Okay, let's move on from C.J. Stroud to the guys who will catch the ball, spin the wheel. Which pass catcher shines against the Cards?
Feels like it's Nico Collins' time. We missed the game last week. You back off the injury report. And I'm going Nico Collins. He's had the great chemistry with CJ. He runs some of those tough routes over the middle that CJ loves to throw. I'll go Nico Collins.
He's violent, too, after the catch, man. Just like Noah Brown, he's violent.
Yeah, I was going to say, whoever Noah Brown allows to shine, I guess. The last couple of weeks, it's been the Noah Brown show. So maybe we got to ask and check with Noah just to see who he's going to let do it. But I'll go with Tank Dell just because I feel like that's always a safe bet. Tank Dell, and I said this from watching the game, the first touchdown that he scored for the Texans against the Bengals. Tank Dell is elite. I've seen enough. He has elite ability on all levels of the field. They use him in the backfield. I know you mentioned pass catchers, but there's basically nothing on the field that they ask this guy to do that he can't do, so I'm going to go Tank Dell.
95, 97, 98% of the receivers that catch that ball get stopped at about the 2-3 yard line. He zipped in, dove in for a touchdown. That was really, really cool to see. Elite. I'm with you on that one. So we saw the run game do what it did last week. 150 yards, 30 carries by Singletary alone. That was a weaker Cincinnati run defense. This is not a great run defense on paper in Arizona. Does this run game have some staying power, you think?
Yeah, I think it absolutely does. You look at what they were able to do against the Bengals, and then you transfer that over to the Cardinals. I think you're looking at a sort of a similar caliber opponent here. And I also think that there's something to be said for the confidence that you have to get. Devin Singletary himself, who I don't think lacked for confidence to begin with, but then the overall unit, the offensive line mostly, going out there and playing physical the way they did, the skill position guys, Noah Brown, who we mentioned, Tank Dell, a lot of these guys out there blocking their tails off on top of the runs that you're getting from Devin Singletary. I think it's sustainable.
The continuity on the offensive line, I know Michael Dieter's new from the past couple of weeks, but continuity's been there. Devin Singletary looked like he was gliding with some of those runs. He looks like he's hitting his stride. The offensive line blocking together. They talked about it over the course of the season. Takes 11 guys executing perfectly, or your running attack doesn't work. There's a lot of execution perfectly, finishing a lot of those blocks. And if you're a high school wide receiver, watch John Mechie, watch Robert Woods. Those guys do so much dirty work in the wide receiver spot in the running game.
Yeah, it's a point of pride for him. You bring up those two. We saw Dell and Noah Brown doing the same thing. They've been excellent out on the perimeter, freeing these guys up in the run game. All right, we've got to look at C.J. Stroud. We've talked about him being an MVP candidate. One of the reasons why, well, the stuff he did on the final drive of the last game in Cincy. Here is a version of the Telestrator, X's and O's wise, with John Harris.
3rd down and 6, a little over a minute left. Gotta have it situation. Texans are tied 27-27. I don't think anybody's going to forget this play. But how did it happen? How did C.J. Stroud and Dalton Schultz happen against the Bengals? Let's go to Telestrator presented by BMW and take a look here. All right. Okay, let's get our little drawing mechanism here. Now, you're going to see Dax Hill. He's really important on this play. And you see Jermaine Pratt right here. These two guys start at the line of scrimmage. And with these 4 across, it's not real clear what the coverage is going to be from Lou Anarumo. So you kind of got to let this thing play out if you're CJ. So what they're going to do is eventually Dax Hill's going to run, sprint back to the middle of the field. He's going to drop to a third, he's going to drop to a third, and you essentially get cover 3 back here. But it doesn't look like cover 3. So this has got to be a post-snap recognition for CJ. Now, in a cover 3, okay, Dalton is probably the guy to look at. But he's got to really get in front of this guy, almost like basketball. He's got to get in front where he can kind of box him out. And that's what he does, okay? So we won't worry about this. Dalton's going to run this seam right here. Noah's going to do a little short route. Cam Taylor-Britt is going to kind of stay on the backside. He doesn't react fast enough. But this look right here, you're thinking, ooh, maybe that's blitz. But then Dax is kind of playing around. CJ's like, give me the ball, Mike. Give me the ball, Michael. And then you see Hill take off. So these guys are all playing underneath defenders here. Deep third. But here's the key. When Hill comes out of this, he turns this way. Worried about these two guys. Because of that, Dalton's got more room here in the middle of the field. Because Hill turns that way, look at how his body takes him away, even just a yard to that side of the field. So Dalton, as he runs his seam route, knows I can get a little bit of width to get away from this guy. I can't get too far to bring this guy into it, okay? So Dalton reads this well. He gets in between, and now he's open. Throws his hand up like, hey, man, I'm open. Now, he does a smart thing, so he starts to bend this thing, and CJ does a smart thing in throwing this about right there, as opposed to if he throws it here, maybe Cam Taylor-Britt can make a play. But he throws it to the right spot, right there. Dalton goes up and gets it. 1st down. Man, now we're moving. Excellent job on 3rd and 6, recognizing post-snap what the Bengals were going to run and then having the right play call against that. CJ to Dalton, huge, setting up the game-winning field goal a few plays later.
Good block by Brown here on the edge. To the end zone and hauled in by Johnson, and that is a touchdown. They'll review, obviously, the coverage by Patrick Peterson, 7-yard touchdown pass.
All right, if we're going to have Case Keenum on the Texans, we got to show Case Keenum throwing a touchdown to Andre Johnson back in the day against the Cardinals, since, that's what's going on this weekend. That was a 2013 game. We got Brandon Scott, Cody Stoots. So arrow up, arrow down on this Texans pass rush. I got to say, this is a pretty easy answer, right?
Arrow way up on this one. Sheldon Rankins getting going. We've seen it from Malik Collins, Jonathan Grenard, and I know that the advanced stats are kind of what you look at because the pretty sack stats aren't there for Will Anderson. He's one of the most dominant pass rushers in football. The pass rush win rate, it's nerdy stuff, but he's beating guys up, and there's always 2-3 guys trying to block him. I'm going way up on this pass rush.
You with Cody?
Yeah, the only way I'd play devil's advocate is just to say, hey, it's already really good.
Right.
So how much better can it get? But I'll say up. I'll go with Cody on this one and say up because I do think you could see even more from these guys. We saw Sheldon Rankins have the game of his life. Jonathan Bernard has had several good games now. Will Anderson, the advanced stats have been kind to him, but I'm still waiting on that moment for him to get home and to kind of kill this noise about what's the sack total look like? Why doesn't Will Anderson have more sacks? Well, we all see what he's doing kind of in the trenches and behind the scenes and just how he's affecting the game, but you want to get that bottom line statistic down. I think this could be a big game for Will Anderson and a big opportunity.
Yeah, the sacks are not there yet. I think they're going to come. He looks like a hand grenade though sometimes with the offensive line, just everything blowing up around him when he's getting going. Yeah. Hey, one thing I think that helped the pass rush the other day, Derek Singletary and Steven Nelson, what they're doing. How much does Stingley's return help things out? And I'm not just saying last game, I'm saying the rest of the season if Stingley is who we think he is.
Yeah, I think for one thing, just at bare minimum, it gives you the depth that you had to start the season. Like you had to feel really good going into the season having Derek Stingley, bringing back Steven Nelson, adding Shaq Griffin to the mix. Now if you've got all those guys relatively healthy, you do a lot for your depth just for starters, but then also the quality of player he is and the quality of player that you expect him to be. You should be allowed to do a lot more in coverage than what you were able to do when you weren't as healthy as you are now with Stingley back.
You're talking about that pass rush, just a little bit more time, and they're going to get to the quarterback all the time. And that's what Derek Stingley can do. Him and Steven Nelson on the field, Shaq Griffin as a backup piece, rotating those guys in so that they are always fresh in the game. That's a really nice element for DeMeco Ryans, Matt Burke to play around with on that defense.
8 games to go. Who's the most important defender down the stretch for the Texans?
Ooh, it's a loaded question.
Yep.
There's a lot
That's
there.
That's why I asked it.
I'm going to go with Jonathan Bernard.
Okay. Yeah.
Keep getting home. Keep having those big sacks. Keep benefiting because the push of Malik Collins and Sheldon Rankins up the middle, Will Anderson on the other side. Keep taking care of your business. Look, it's nice to put pressure. It's really nice to end it down with the quarterback laying on the ground.
Cool with me.
Yeah, I don't mind going back to Derek Stingley here, just for not to put too much pressure on the guy, but just for the simple fact of what Cody just said. How great would it be for the Texans if they could marry up the skill sets of their back-to-back number 3 overall picks? The coverage with Derek Stingley, the rush with Will Anderson. We've seen what Will Anderson could do. We've seen what Jonathan Bernard could do. We've seen a lot of big play from this defense so far. The guy that we haven't seen it because of health so far is Derek Stingley. So I'm going to make it Derek Stingley.
Okay, another guy who's been making plays, a little bit quieter than those guys, is Blake Cashman. And the linebacker went one-on-one with me here on Texans Extra Points. Linebacker Blake Cashman joins us now. You're taking on the Arizona Cardinals. And before we get into the matchup, we talked back in May at a community event, and you were really excited about the defense you're playing in and the position that the coaches had you focused on and said, hey, take ownership of this spot. You've definitely come out and done that. How do you think about your progress, and how do you think it's going in that regard on a personal level?
I think my progress has been good. I feel like every week that goes by, I get more and more comfortable, and I had the confidence where I can start to take this defense to the next level. The coaches have definitely put more responsibility on my plate, which I like to see, because I think as a player that tells you you're doing something good. But really just answering that call that the coaches are putting on me, owning those new responsibilities, new techniques, new positions in the defense, will really help me thrive in this defense.
And collectively, where do you think you guys are headed right now?
Rolling in the right direction. Obviously, we still got a lot of ball to play, but I think we're starting to play with some sound football on all phases, and that's what it takes to be, a playoff team, a potential championship team. You have to be executing on offense, defense, special teams. Obviously, there's still things we can be better on, but, you see the confidence in this locker room and on this team.
You got Kyler Murray and the Cardinals coming into town. They're 2-8, but this does not look like a 2-8 team with him in the offense now. He's only played a game. They won that game last week. What's the challenge that he presents for the defense as a whole when you're lining up against a guy like that?
He's a guy that's elusive, dynamic player. He can extend plays, and whenever you can extend plays, it's very challenging on the back end because coverages get broken down. So we really have to be great at how we assault the pocket. D-line, any linebackers or safeties that are blitzing, like taking the right tracks to keep him contained. And if we do that and our coverage is tight, we'll be successful no matter, down in distance.
Been fun talking with you. Always enjoy talking with you, Blake Cashman. Best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
pressure coming. Schaub unloads and complete to Johnson. Andre Johnson, touchdown. Oh, what an individual effort by the Pro Bowler.
That was an unbelievable catch by Andre Johnson.
Okay, for my money, that's my favorite Andre Johnson play of all time. He took the souls of 3 Arizona Cardinals in 2009 on that touchdown, just taking them in the end zone. Vontae Leach had a little business at the end with some of the defenders, but I love that. I love that play. Cody Stoots, Brandon Scott, it's good to be with you guys. Great that you're with us. Let's talk about these Cardinals. How much has Kyler Murray's return changed things for this organization?
You got to throw everything you know about the Cardinals out.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been back for one game this season. It's a totally new offense and offensive scheme. This Cardinals team gave the 49ers fits over the past couple of years, so I'll be interested to see. There's only been one matchup between DeMeco Ryans and Kyler Murray when DeMeco was the defensive coordinator. It was a very low-scoring game. Quarterback play in San Fran wasn't very good. I got to imagine it's going to be much better when the Texans square off, but I don't know what to expect from Kyler. He's got a bunch of new wide receivers, got a new offense, and we've only seen a little bit of him this season, so I don't really know what to expect. So you throw out the book, and you just kind of got to react to what you see on Sunday.
Yeah, we're riding high here about what the Texans are doing. They're kind of riding high in Arizona after what he did in 1 week.
I think there's a little bit of danger in thinking about Kyler Murray of the fact that he's been out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to forget how talented of a guy this is. Now, if you're from Texas, like most of us are, you remember Kyler Murray as one of the better high school football players.
He might be the best ever to play in the state.
Possibly the best that we've ever seen.
He's in the argument.
And all he's really done is kind of confirm his sort of stature and athleticism beyond that. Now, has it been a little bit rocky as of late in Arizona? Absolutely. But you saw last week in his return, and we already know the background of how dynamic Kyler Murray can be. And just ask DeMeco Ryans. Listen to how DeMeco Ryans talks about Kyler Murray, and that's all you really need to know how dangerous of a guy that is.
And, he's got a running back in James Conner who's going off for about 5.2 a carry. They probably have not used him quite enough, have they?
Connor's one of my favorite players to watch. He's violent, he's physical, and you can rely on him. Sometimes running backs, you can't always rely on him. Connor can do a little bit of everything, and he's been doing a little bit of everything for Arizona for a few years. Obviously, you think back to when he was really good that 1 year in Pittsburgh. He's got stats on a per-game basis similar to that big year that he had in Pittsburgh. He's playing really well right now.
Brandon, let's flip over to the defensive side. What's the biggest threat the Cardinals present to this Texans offense?
Well, I mean, when you think about the Cardinals defense, you have to think about Budda Baker.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be the name that stands
That's who DeMeco
out.
said,
It's the safety that stands out. I think that he's probably their star player on defense. And I think maybe the one more underrated things that they do defensively is get after the quarterback. They can get after the quarterback. I think that's why it's going to be really important to make sure you're keeping C.J. Stroud upright. But if I had to say, I would point out Budda Baker, and I would point out their underrated ability to get after the quarterback.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys with multiple sacks on that front. So, yeah, they've done a good job in that regard. Okay, it's time for Texans to watch. Be keeping your eye on against Arizona.
I'm going to go on that pass rush, the defensive line.
All right.
Not Sheldon Rankins. He just broke out. How about his buddy, Malik Collins?
That's a good
on
one.
the defensive line, that defensive tackle. Man, Malik is getting a lot of push. He's as good as Sheldon on any given down. Those two working together, and they both benefit. I'm going Malik Collins.
Malik works out in Scottsdale in the offseason, so that's a nice pick. He's going to have some people watching back in the desert. How about you?
I'm going to go with the guy that you interviewed, Drew, and I'm going to actually say Blake Cashman, and that's because Kyler Murray is going to give guys fits. Blake Cashman, one of their more athletic linebackers, they're going to have a mix of discipline, but also being ready physically to match up with Kyler Murray when he does break the rules a little bit. And Blake Cashman is the one that I like best to find that matchup.
Excellent choices. I'm sticking with Will Anderson Jr. Get after the quarterback. Get after Kyler Murray. We've seen Will be excellent in the run game. Let's get a sack or two. Keep on adding to the total and keep on keeping on. All right, we've got more Texans Extra Points after the break, so stick with us because we've got keys to a victory in mere moments.
Extra Points has been sponsored by Community Coffee, Strong as Our Roots, by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by Mattress Firm, the official sleep partner of the Houston Texans.
We're back. You're back. We appreciate you sticking with us as the Texans Extra Points. Drew, Brandon, Cody, it's that time of the show where we get 2 keys to a victory. What 2 things must the Texans do to come out of this with a dub?
don't let the Cardinals make this thing ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The past 3 games, they've actually been able to make things ugly on a per-play basis. They don't want a lot of possessions. They don't want this game to be in C.J. Stroud's hand a bunch. They want to chop the amount of possessions the Texans have in half from recent weeks and just ugly and messy the game up. That's the biggest thing there. And then over on the offense, don't try to do too much. Okay? It's all been working on some nice, simple, easy stuff. Run the ball well. Throw to the open guy. Don't try to do too much on offense. You should be able to take care of the Arizona Cardinals.
All right. How about you?
Yeah, I think that this really comes down to, on the offensive side, keeping C.J. Stroud upright.
Yep.
Okay, we've seen that when C.J. Stroud has time, he is a savant. So I think if they do that on the offensive side of the ball, they should be in pretty good shape. And then I would say defensively, as we talked about Kyler Murray earlier, try to make Kyler Murray, try to make him as ordinary as possible.
Yeah.
We know that he can do the extraordinary things. If you can stay as disciplined as you possibly can and keep him in the pocket, make him do some of the boring things that are required from the quarterback position, which I'm not sure he's as interested in doing, then I think you got a much better shot.
My 2, kind of an offshoot of one of yours, bury these guys early. Get out to an early lead, score a touchdown on them, and just put the pedal or the foot to the pedal, and then stay dynamite. That doesn't make any sense, but just stay dynamite.
No.
Keep the explosive plays going. You had 9 completions of 20 yards or more a week or so ago. This last Sunday, you had 8 completions of 20 yards or more. It's been so much fun to watch. And then, oh, by the way, they sprinkled in 150 yards from Devin Singletary. I love that. But stay dynamite. Can we make that a thing? Or is it,
that seems like
put it on a t-shirt.
That should have been an 80s catchphrase.
Yes.
Let's make it a catchphrase now.
knowing the internet, it's probably out there, and I probably absorbed it somehow, but I'm going to sort of halfway claim it as my own.
Hey,
but
Drew,
anyways,
just-
you stay dynamite.
you
stay
stay
dynamite.
dynamite.
You stay
All
dynamite.
you guys stay dynamite.
All of us.
We're going to
we'll all stay
copyright this, too.
dynamite. Yes. All right, Cody.
Dynamite.
Cody Brandon. My brain is dynamite. Yeah, I almost called you Brian for some reason. You're Brandon. But
It's happened my whole life.
thank you so much for watching us here on Texans Extra Points. This has been a lot of fun, and we'll see you again next week.